So, welcome everybody back here at Veil of Sound, and it's the beginning of my summer holidays when this one comes out. But even more important, it's close to the release date of a new record by these two fine young gentlemen here and their free bandmates. I hope that everybody already knows who I'm talking about because of the title. We're talking about Din of Celestial Birds. So I'm very, very happy to have two of the guys here on the show. So thanks for joining.
Hey, no worries.
Yep, hello. Thanks for having us.
You're always welcome. I always like to talk to nice English gentlemen. Maybe you can quickly say what either of you do in the band so that we have a little notion of who is responsible for what.
Okay, I'm the guy who hits the things, hopefully in time, that everyone
Your head
else
against the wall.
To go along with, yeah, the drummer, basically.
Yeah.
Yep, and I'm one of three guitarists. So we share responsibilities, you know.
You're replaceable.
Wow.
You do know what people say about strikers or quarterbacks in sports. If you have two, then you have none.
Is it better having three then?
Yeah, exactly. Full circle.
And you at least have half one. Yeah. The first thing that we always do is the plug of the day. Do you want to start? Shall I first plug my band, but I would like to push a little more? Or does that one of you want to start?
Go for it, yeah.
So then, I already had the pleasure of talking to somebody in this band a couple of months ago when we did the round table for the Ripcord Festival back in March. And I think Million Moons just released a killer post-rock album. Really cool, great melodies, great instrumentation. A really good record. If you like Din of Celestial Birds, everybody out there, if you like Din of Celestial Birds, then you will also like Million Moons, believe me. And Chris, let's go by alphabet, so you go before your bandmate.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to shout out The Grey. They're a Cambridge three-piece, kind of between post-rock and post-metal sort of band, bit sludgy, killer riffs, absolutely great guitar tones, solid drumming, and Andy on bass, who's been in more bands than I can probably count to.
Probably just more totally bands than he can count.
I would, yeah, he's probably at this point by now. But a great band, The Grey, check them out, they're amazing.
Also been part of that roundtable interview that we did back in March. So nice. Vince, who are you going to plug?
I don't know. I've been racking my brain, and maybe I'll go far left field for a genre that many people watching this might not listen to, and that's sort of psy-dub. So a artist called Grouchin Dub, I think, would open up many people's minds to electronic music, very well produced, good summer electronic music.
You will have to give me the spelling of it later, so that I don't make a mistake for the show notes. And we have to talk about your new record, which comes out in 5 days after the release of this video, Takeoffs and Landings. So the first question must be, what is your favorite airport?
What is our favorite?
Airport. Where you take off and land.
It's a good question. It's got to be, to be honest, it's actually the one that's 15 minutes down the road from me, because I live in Leeds. There's Leeds Airport.
Leeds has an airport.
And the thing that makes it a good airport is it's tiny and you never have to wait for anything. But otherwise, you got things like Shanghai, I guess. It's a pretty cool airport, right?
Mm-hmm. And Vince, could you say, I've been to one and I really like that one?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a couple. I have a soft spot maybe for some Swedish airports. So there's one near Stockholm, Västerås, and I've camped outside that airport a couple of times when I traveled there. And just across the motorway, there's a nice little green embankment. So I've camped in a tent there with some friends while waiting for the plane.
Yeah, because in Sweden you can do wild camping, can't you?
Well, I'm not sure.
I think
it wouldn't stop me anyway, maybe. Yeah.
If I had to choose one, I'd probably choose also a tiny airport, just like Chris, in Coron in the Philippines. because it's been the loveliest airport that I've ever been to. I think the size of the apartment that I'm sitting in right now is probably as big as the airport. Doesn't even have a belt which brings the luggage to you. It's all done manually, and it's wonderfully small. I think the runway is less than 1,000 meters. I don't know. It just seems so short.
Helicopters that land there.
Or tiny airplanes. I like that one. And of course, I mean, like, I live close to Frankfurt. Yeah, that is like the total opposite. We'll come to the idea of moving, of flying in a moment, and it's interesting that I think Chris talked about Shanghai Airport, because with the Celestial Birds, you've also already been to China. And you've played in several countries outside of the UK by now, if I remember correctly. And did that in any way bring more validation than you would have expected several years ago when you started the band?
I'm going to answer this one and just say 100%. Yeah, absolutely. So yes, we've played at Dunk Festival in Belgium, as you say, and Cannes in China. And we kind of went into both of those things not really knowing what to expect and not really knowing how much of a following, like if anyone has even heard of us in the first place out there. Yeah. So an awful lot of validation from, coming out from the back of the stage, getting onto the stage and seeing, oh, not only a couple of people had turned up, there's actually loads of people here somehow.
Yeah, I think the first part of that validation, I mean, the first time I experienced that, let's say, validation was at Arctangent when we played, and I stepped out into the audience just before we went on. There was actually people in the tents, which is crazy. But yeah, and in China, in Shanghai, we met a lot of fans afterwards, signing tents, sort of showmanship stuff. So yeah, a lot of that, and completely unexpected, coming from playing music at this stage in my life.
Yeah, and also but really the other side of the planet, right? So thinking about there are people 12, 15,000 kilometers away who enjoy your music. I can imagine that brings a lot of validation to everybody singularly, everybody personally, but also to the band as a band. But at the same time, of course, this could also go the other way. And did that in any way pressure you as a band as well? Because I mean, like, loads of audience also means some kind of expectation.
I think the expectation maybe we're feeling more with putting out this second album versus the first one. I think the first one, we just thought, we want to do this, right? And we're the ones who set the bar. And now maybe the bar is being set by external pressures, other people, other countries. So we'll see. Yeah, more pressure.
But do you feel that in any way? For example, when you were writing the songs for this new record?
I think, yeah, there has been, to an extent, kind of a want to not just do the same thing again for a start has definitely been the topic of a few conversations, and the desire to kind of, push things a bit further and make sure that we're not just kind of staying on the level.
And for me personally, playing some of the old material now, there's a certain pressure to play it like it is on the album. And I always find that challenging. So, picking up more fans, there'll be a collective understanding that the songs play in a certain way, or the instruments are, played in a certain way. So yeah, there's that pressure as well.
If I remember correctly, Andy, one of the guitar players, is like the main songwriter in the band. But how does this process of writing and arranging songs then come about? Is it Andy who brings the stuff to the table and the other four are just little things here and there, or is that then a democratic process?
Yeah, it's democratic. I mean, so we spoke a bit about this as well not all of the songs have been written by Andy, but the majority of them, more or less overwhelmingly so, have been written by him. And he's very good with his composition, his arrangement, and his songwriting. So it's extremely nice to have somebody who has such a creative drive in the band. But the way that we approach it is that, you know, we're all musicians. Obviously, people will just put together demos of things and send it to the others and say, hey, I've been working on this new idea. What do you think of it? And stuff like that. And if a song progresses, you know, we'll get to the point where we're playing it together in a rehearsal room, or someone says, oh, you know, it'd be cool to have something like this at this point. But the way we usually treat it is that the person who wrote the song at the end of the day has the last call on things that are changing or how things are done. But we're all putting in ideas here and there. And, you know, if anyone was to ever hear any of the original demos for each of the songs, you would see how certain things have changed between those and what's actually put on the record.
And then the other question was, of course, are there songs where parts of a band said, like, we like it, but it's not ours? Where you said, like, we like the idea, but it doesn't work for the Celestial Birds?
I think that we've got a couple of songs floating around which may feel like that. But even the demos sometimes didn't feel like our songs until we all sat down in the room and started putting ourselves into it, or designing patches for the guitars and synths and stuff. So yeah, and some songs maybe they're harder to steer in the direction of our sound, our band. But yeah, so there are some stuff.
Yeah, a lot of the time the demos are given as like a kind of, here's the general thing that I'm going for. And I think especially more so with the bass and the drums, often it's kind of a like, this is the ballpark. And particularly you and Matt will go and like do your own thing to it, won't you?
Yep. Sometimes gratuitously. But yeah, we make it work.
And then, of course, the thing is, when listening also to a record, it's interesting that you already mentioned guitars and the synths. When listening to the record, especially the new one, I have a feeling as if every instrument has its very own distinct space. And it's not as if that space is like set by borders and ammunition and heavily guarded, but you know what I mean? Like every instrument has its own space, and it seems as if it's equally distributed. You know, there is no instrument that shines all the time, that is in the foreground, up front and center all the time. Sometimes it's the synths that take a little more space. Sometimes it's the drumming, which I also like a lot. Sometimes it's the guitars. Is that something that is probably a subconscious thing, right? It's nothing where you say like, okay, Vince didn't have enough drum parts a little more to the front, so let's give him this track. It happens subconsciously, probably, doesn't it?
I know with the writing, speaking from the guitar's perspective, it's very much a conscious thing of, Andy's spoken before, the way that he writes guitar parts is as if they are a 3-part vocal harmony played on guitars. But he makes very conscious choices. We've spoken about this quite a bit, of one part to be like the lead part of this harmony whilst the others are backing it up, and then it will change. And there's a very distinctive lead at any one given point of time.
Do you think that vocal approach might also be one of the reasons why you so easily interconnect with fans all around the world?
I think that's a very interesting point, and a very important part of instrumental music is to create leads and melodies which perhaps do replicate what we expect a vocalist to do. So I think that is a on-point comment. Yeah.
Thank you. So I've said it before. I think it's nice to talk to you. Would also have been cool to talk to one of the synth providers. I think it's Matt and Andy, right, who provide the synths. Because I have a feeling as if on this record the synths are in general a little bit more pronounced than on The Night Is for Dreamers. Was that one of those things where you said like, okay, we don't want to repeat ourselves, so we have to up one of the other parts a little more?
I think we wanted to lean into some electronic stuff. I mean, Matt does electronic music on the side and has been doing for a while. I also dabble in electronic music, have another electronic music project.
Yeah, you also remixed one of your own tracks, didn't you? Or was that also Matt?
So yeah, Matt remixed one of the tracks of the Birds. I'm working on a remix version of one of the songs, but it's it's on the shelf for now. Yeah, and I did some of the FX for this album as well, but only in the Summit, the single that we just released. Yeah, but we wanted to lean more into the electronic side of things, and as Matt says, move away from perhaps listening to a live album, live band, and more of a polished studio sound.
Yeah, that was a very conscious decision to, I guess The Night is for Dreamers was very much you could have recorded it all in one take. Assuming that we'd played it all right, we could have recorded it all in one take. There's much more overdubbing going on here. And like Vince said, Matt has got a couple of electronic projects, at least that I know of, Hyperdweller and 601, which he's working with on the side. And we wanted to make more of that and, go a little bit more studio this time.
It's interesting that you mention the studio time. I have two questions come to do that. First off, you doubled your time at No Studio with our friend Joe Clayton. Shout out to Joe and to Pine and Bloodlet Recordings and everything. I mean, like, you knew the studio, you knew the producer, but still you doubled the time. Please explain why.
Last time we did it, so I mean, I was tired after 2 days of constant drumming and then pushing it on the last day. Yeah, I was quite tired. So I think that we took that extra day just to ease into it a little bit. And yeah.
Yeah, the recording sessions for The Night is for Dreamers were, I mean, firstly done obviously entirely out of our own pockets rather than backed by merch sales or anything that's coming off the band, really. So for that recording session, we wanted to spend the least amount of money possible to get the best results possible. So that means you have no spare time. There's no wiggle room. You have to be super on schedule and pretty quick.
Yeah,
and
coffee. Lots of coffee was had.
Lots of coffee. It was pretty stressful towards the end of the sessions. We did 2 sessions. We did one for the drums and another for basically everything else. And towards the end of both of them, it got quite tight, didn't it? I think actually we ran over on one of them. So big shout out to Joe. Thank you for putting a few hours on the clock.
Yeah, he was very accommodating, very flexible as well. And even one of the songs on this album, Take Ups and Landings, we wanted to record actually last time for the first album, not necessarily to go on the album, but potentially and maybe as a single. But we ran out of time completely. So
yeah, so just really, we wanted a bit more breathing room, less stress, get better performances, hopefully, and more time to just play with things and bounce ideas off of Joe and get sounds nailed.
And then there is something that one of you already hinted at. There is a certain level of stuff that you can do on the record, but that you probably cannot do live. So when you wrote those songs, the live performance aspect was a little less important, wasn't it?
I mean, it has to translate live still. But I mean, looking at Vince here, I'm just going to say 2 words: the gong.
What about, we didn't use a gong in this one, did we? Oh no, because we have a gong sound, yeah, in one of our tracks. That's right, and I do have a gong, so we could actually translate that into a live perspective.
There are kind of so most of it will translate through to live based on the magic of technology. But a really important point that we wanted to make sure that we're not doing still is you get a lot of bands using a lot of backing tracks, and they have one guitarist, but you can hear like a 3-part guitar harmony going on, and you just think, that doesn't make sense. So if there's anything really prominent or anything that, we don't want to cheat still, basically. So there's lots of stuff in there that's there in the background, providing texture or something. But our kind of philosophy with it all was we don't want to cheat with any of that stuff.
Yeah. I wonder if we need another band member to come in and do all that extra stuff live, while we're doing the rest.
Probably a synth player, right? Somebody who at least does the electronic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Full-time synths, samples, drum machine stuff.
Yeah, drum machine, test a drummer, yeah. No, but but then there is also something that I really like about the record, having listened to it a couple of times by now. It's one of those headphone records, I would say. It's, of course, even having a good stereo, it's a wonderful experience, but I've listened to it more often over the headphones, and I always had the feeling as if the headphone experience is even a little, I don't want to say closer, but a little more intimate. And then I had the feeling, okay, how are they going to do that whole thing on stage? Yeah, and there is another thing about the sound which I tried to put into words. I'm not really sure if I pointed it out or wrote it down correctly for me. I wrote down it's opulent, but it's not decadent. I hope that makes sense in any way. Is that something that you also feel about the sound? It has to be full, it has to be rounded off, but it should not show off?
Yeah, we're not...
You're not Stephen Wilson and Porcupine Tree.
Yeah, and there's no kind of virtuoso guitar solos or anything like that. We're not there to show off. It's there to tell stories through music.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of detail, but there's nothing highly complicated about most of anything that anyone's playing.
Yeah, and I think that's actually something that translates well into the live situation, the live setting, because I feel a lot of us play and connect with the crowd, and it's much easier to do that if you're more grounded in what you're playing, and it becomes more fluid rather than, I don't know, honed years of technical expertise. And, yeah.
You're not trying to be John Petrucci and drink.
No. There's an aspect of accessibility, I suppose, for the listener as well, because in the kind of musical cliques that we tend to play in, it's predominantly music for musicians a lot of the time. And for other people, sometimes the music that is written for musicians can be quite inaccessible to a lot of people when they're listening to it.
Because they try to show how much better they are than anybody else. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, this one's microtonal in 11/5 or whatever.
There is something about mathy stuff and microtonal music that is really, really interesting, but it should never try to how should I say it without being too brutish? Come on, let's just say it like it is. You shouldn't wank off with your guitar.
Agreed.
So let's come to the storytelling aspect. And every story starts with an exposition, with an introduction. You start with the title track of a record, which is point on a very straight to the face intro. Here we are, that's what we do. Was that already clear from the beginning that is going to be the opener?
No, I don't think it was. Well, I say that, but actually what
else would it have been?
there are a few
It can't
reasons.
be the last two tracks. It cannot be either of the last two tracks, so it only leaves you with 6 options.
That's still a lot of options.
That's 1 to 5.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure. I would ask Andy this one. I'm not 100% sure if it was very intentionally put as the first track, but there is something in so basically the cadence that the final track resolves to is not fully resolved. But if you play the record again, it's actually resolved by the opening of the first song. So I think that there was some intentionality around that from me, I'm not sure whether.
Who of you ordered the police?
That was me.
That was Chris.
They go and buy it there for someone else.
Yeah, that's what they say now. Sorry, I interrupted you. So yeah, I see that. Listening to the record on repeat, yeah, it makes sense. It's like a loop, of course. And then we are in this storytelling aspect. And I mean, like for instrumental music, it's very often very difficult because there are no vocals. You can tell a lot of, you can provide a lot of emotions through it. And sometimes the song titles are very, very important. You don't go the Red Sparrow's way, where every song title is like one chapter out of Shakespeare, because they're.
Mm-hmm.
But very often your song titles, and it also struck me on the new one, there is some kind of red thread. And that red thread in that case is in many, many tracks, it has to do with moving. I mean, like the title is already Takeoff and Landings. And one is, okay, from up here, from this summit, we can see we have migratory patterns. You talk about a road. You indirectly quote Peter Pan and Captain Kirk. Is that the red thread? Moving from one place to the next?
I'm not sure.
It's thematically tied together by literal and metaphorical journeys. So journeys sometimes involve moving, sometimes a bit more abstract, but that is the theme underpinning the whole album. As a concept album, it's all about journeys.
Yeah, as Chris says, not necessarily movement. We can take journeys in our thoughts and in our minds and imaginations as we traverse different planes, and maybe that's what we're doing. We're taking a journey, glimpsing at different windows of dimensions for each of the songs that we've portrayed.
And then I looked at the covers of the records, especially at the first EP and at This Night Is for Dreamers, and even at the remix EP. There is always some kind of path or movement. On the first EP, we have the birds. On The Night Is for Dreamers, we have this kind of path or waterway or whatever. So now you have the whole thing even connected to the other or some of your other records. Is that something that you also like to connect records with each other, to maybe lay little Easter eggs here and there?
I think I personally really like the idea of Easter eggs, but I think for this album, actually, we tried not to connect too much because of what we've been discussing here, essentially having to differentiate our sound now from, let's say, the previous album. We didn't deliberately leave any Easter eggs now, although maybe there's some Easter eggs in the music video that Chris has put together for this summit, but no, linking albums together, I don't think that was a conscious thing. Correct me if I'm wrong though, Chris.
No, I don't think that was a conscious thing, but the concept of movement and a kind of a path going forwards or some kind of direction is somewhat implicit, I suppose, by the subject matter of the Takeoffs and Landings record. But that's an interesting observation.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in that way, the artwork cover didn't work for me. All the other things are connected. And here all of a sudden I see this migratory pattern and I'm like, the cover doesn't. What is happening here? So that is probably also like the deliberate decision. Okay, let's do something also from the cover artwork. Let's do something totally different. Mm-hmm. That was probably a very conscious decision, wasn't it?
Yeah. 100%. And it's really fun having all these geometric patterns, and the way it's tied into now the first edition of the vinyl, which will come out, I think is really, really cool.
Big thank you to Jim Cork, who did the artwork for Takeoffs and Landings. We really love it. We wanted something that could stand in, obviously a big difference in terms of the artwork for The Night is for Dreamers. So we really love the artwork. We think it's great.
Yeah, and I also like the way that it works in the artwork itself. At first glance, looks very simplistic, geometrical patterns and all of that. But when you then look at certain lines and the way that sometimes the colors frizzle out a little bit, the little color differences in the tones of the blues and the blacks, and it's very nicely done. Definitely. And then Vince already hinted at it. Chris, you did the video from this summit. We can see, and so sorry, I'm not good at remembering song titles.
We just call it From the Summit most of the time.
Yeah, okay, then we just
Summit. Yeah.
First of all, I think I read it correctly that this is not the first video, right?
This is the second single off of the album. So we had a couple of videos which were from The Night is for Dreamers, and we have a video that we released for Takeoffs and Landings, the song, when that came out with the album announcement, and now this more recently.
Is that something where you could also see yourself going in some kind of side profession, like being a video director, not only for Din of Celestial Birds, but also maybe for other outlets, other bands, projects?
It'd be really fun, but I don't think I'm very good necessarily at it compared to people that are doing it professionally.
Spike Jones also started with shitty stuff.
Yeah. And I took so long. It consumed my life for like 2 months or maybe more. But I had a great time doing it.
And maybe you need not a fast computer, but
faster brain.
More compute.
Maybe
help.
Better actors.
Oh. Yeah, I could do with some of those.
And there is something about the video that I also want to take, because there are live performances in the video, and we've already mentioned that the Din of Celestial Birds, in a way, is a very life-oriented band. There is something in one of the track titles that I have to quote here, because you say, "You are my temple." Track 5 on the new record. Is the stage the temple?
The stage is in the performance stage at...
Yeah, the stage as in where you are sitting behind your drum kit. Is that then your temple?
I mean, for me, it's definitely one of them. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think the meaning of the song as written by Andy, it isn't the stage, but it's certainly one of mine. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I haven't had the pleasure of seeing the Celestial Birds yet. I'm still waiting for a European tour.
Us too.
Yeah, can imagine. No, just joking. But whenever I heard people talk about your live performances, one thing that I always heard was like very quick connection. You're on stage and basically the audience is there, but bada bing, bada bang. And you say like part of it is your tempo. Is the show then also where you say, okay, in our live sets, the whole thing gets to a very different, not necessarily better or worse, but to a very different level?
I think, well, it's interesting, thinking about what you're describing as tempo and the stage, but perhaps more when we play, I'd like to think that we connect with a lot of people in the room, as you say. And maybe that then is the temple, this this emotional connection, or that safe space, to use a very common phrase now, but for everyone to feel something.
It's interesting that you say something, because of course that something leaves a lot of room for personal interpretation. That is also something that you are very intentionally avoiding by not giving any vocals. Your music is open for interpretation.
That's the point. I think, there are Nights for Dreamers, there are some biased samples, perhaps, which lay the foundation for interpretation. But...
Yeah.
That was one of the things that really got me into instrumental music of any kind, back when I first started listening to this kind of stuff, is that I could take music and apply it to my own life and the way that I was feeling, and it might be a completely different intention to what the person that wrote it was, but it works for me at the time, and I can connect to it. So yeah, absolutely for me.
And then there are songs also on the new record which, by the title, are, I don't want to say unopen or closed for interpretation, because it's very clear. And I'm sure you already know which title I'm referring to. I'm referring to "I Hope That Road Leads You Somewhere Beautiful, Somewhere You Belong." We're not going to talk about the personal background of the story, but there is something in the record title itself that already gives everybody a kind of perception what the track is about on a personal level for Andy, who wrote it. But there is also something in the track title which is providing a lot of hope, that silver lining on the horizon. Is that something where you say, okay, I'm happy that we as musicians can do something like that, provide that silver lining for some people? Yeah,
very much so. I often find that song very cathartic and bittersweet in a kind of way. But eventually I think it's really just a great way to be able to express those emotions.
Yeah, I really, really enjoy the opening of that track, the first part. It's really spacey and vibey.
Yeah, it is.
It's quite carefree, isn't it? Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, and I think that is also one of the reasons why many people are able to connect with your band, because I mean, like there are some very programmatic titles that you chose, and I like that, because like "The Night is for Dreamers," very poetic in itself. Then "I Hope That Road Leads You Somewhere Beautiful," also a very clear title. And that is something that you very often do. That's also something that I heard, like people who don't know each other all of a sudden putting their arms around people that they don't know and embracing and enjoying that whole thing together. That, Vince, that is probably what you also meant with the community being the temple, isn't it?
Yeah. The community, the audience there, but also the audience beyond that room, the collective listeners.
Mm. That's a very, very nice and interesting idea. I have two more questions before we come to the quickfire round. I'm thinking which one to go first. Oh yeah, let's go with that one. Do you consider yourself more of a album band in the Russian circles sense? Because I think most of us have problems with naming 5 Russian circles tracks, but a lot of us can name 3-4 Russian circles albums. So do you consider yourself more of an album band like Russian circles, or a singles band like Mogwai?
I don't think we could call ourselves an albums band yet, because we don't have like 7 albums. But when we do, then we can. But I know what you mean.
I also think that, but maybe for a slightly different reason, in the sense that a lot of our songs, I don't feel they necessarily flow into each other. And sometimes when you pick up whole albums, you have to listen to it from start to finish, because there's a natural flow through them all. And particularly for this album, it feels a little bit disjointed, and that's not unintentional, because we were reviewing lots of different sort of journeys and lots of dimensions, as it were. So at the moment, not an album band.
Last question, and here we come to the title of the last track. I already, by looking at it, I knew that I had heard it before, but I had to look it up, and then It came to me as if I was stupid. Second star to the right and straight on till morning. I'm not sure if you are the two people to ask, but did you already, by naming the thing, know that you are referring to two very different worlds, fairy tales and sci-fi?
Yeah, very much so. So Andy wrote this song. We've spoken to him about this name, and yes, he was very aware.
Was it named like that already from the beginning, or was?
Yeah. From the first demo. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize its full title until more like later on when we started doing the recordings. But yeah, he was aware.
And if you had to choose one of the two, which for everybody, maybe we should clear it up because maybe not everybody who is not English doesn't understand. So the title is what Peter Pan tells Wendy and her brothers how they can come to Neverland. And it's also, I think, if I did my research correctly, it's also the last thing that Captain Kirk says in Star Trek VI. So, as I said, you are combining very, very different kinds of stories, sci-fi, and I mean, like Star Trek is one of those. Although I still prefer Star Wars, and I always will, but Star Trek is a very sci-based story. It's a very science-based story, and a lot of the things that we saw in Star Trek 60 years ago are now normal. I just think about that little thing here that we carry around, and it's like the communicator. So we have the sci-fi thing on the one hand, and we have a fairy tale on the other. If you had to choose, which of those two do you prefer? The Peter Pan thing or the Captain Kirk thing?
I got one. It's got to be Peter Pan for me because it's the directions to Neverland, right? But the subject of the song is being born, growing through your childhood into adolescence and your adulthood, and eventually death. So it stands in some kind of ironic juxtaposition to the title of the song, which is obviously, if you were in Neverland, for anyone who doesn't know, you don't get old in Neverland. You never become an adult. You never die, I think. So I like the kind of juxtaposition.
You never grow up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Whereas this song is all about you grow up, and some parts of the song is suggesting that perhaps this is going too fast at some point. So maybe you didn't read the instructions right. Maybe you missed the way to Neverland.
You went left.
Damn it! I went to the third star from the right.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is just a reminder to all of you that if you want to get there to Neverland.
Is it also a reminder to yourself to at least keep a little childish side to yourself?
Well, sometimes when I'm playing, I can't help keeping some of that in front of me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Chris?
I like that take on it, actually. Yeah. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective, but I think I speak for myself, but I probably speak for everybody in the band. Whenever we've got a show coming up, it fills me with like excitement
childish
and
joy.
Energy. Yeah. I'm like a kid, so yeah.
We have to talk about one more thing. Sorry, I forgot that. You are once again, in a couple of days when this one is out, and a couple of days after record release, you're once again playing Fernhill Farm. You're allowed to play on the last Fernhill Farm edition of Arctangent. Is it the third time? Second, right?
Third time now.
Third time. So you're basically already residents, right?
We're back. Yeah.
They can't get enough of us.
They'll wheel us out from the shed that they keep us in. Yeah.
Yeah, where you're like, no, I don't want to go.
I like the shed. Yeah.
But like honestly, you're playing the UK's biggest post-oriented music festival for the third time. Again, a kind of validation, isn't it?
Very much so. Yeah, we love Arctangent. It's an absolute honor to play there at all. Every time it's been an honor. And to hear now, we didn't know this before, but with the news about a month back from when this will be coming out, that this Arctangent will be the last at Fernhill Farm. It's even more of an honor to be a part of that. Yeah.
Not even to speak about the lineup, which once again is like, as every year, it's an insane lineup. And every year I beat myself to death because I can't come. Because usually, I don't know why, I think James plans it the way, but it's always the weekend, either when my family and I go on holiday or very shortly before. So next year, please, start of August.
You should go on holiday to Arca.
Yeah, but I don't know what my wife will say. I mean, like, I like the UK, but I don't know if she say, "Oh, I like Bristol so much." Oh no, I'm gonna get a shitstorm for that from all the people in Bristol. I love your city. I would love to come, but I don't know about the wife. Yeah, but I know what you mean.
You're gonna have to drop some, subliminal messaging.
Yeah, I will just leave her in London, and she can go shopping and spend her own money. Mm-hmm. That sounds like a plan for 2027 at least. Guys, first of all, thanks for all the insight into the record and into the making of it, the ideas behind it. But nobody leaves these interviews here without the quick fire round at the end. You will always get two alternatives. You have to choose one of them, and maybe we give a short explanation for your choice. I looked a lot at post-rock, but I also have some questions that are non-post-rock related. Let's start off with something. One of the, at least for me, most important British post-rock bands that not enough people ever listened to back in the day was Ocean Size. So you have to choose between E Flores and Everyone in Two Position. Which of these two albums do you prefer?
I got to be quick on this one. Everyone Into Position, because Music for a Nurse is literally one of my favorite songs. It's so good.
I can't recall listening to either one. Well, not consciously.
I think Dinner Celestial Birds needs a new drummer.
Oh no!
No, he needs educating.
I need educating.
For me,
the opposite of Chris.
Yeah, for me it would also be E Flores, not because I want to go the opposite of Chris, but because it was the first record by Ocean Size that I listened to. I still remember that feeling of listening to it. That was one of those moments when I really started realizing, okay, there is this certain kind of genre that I have not invested enough time into. I had heard other post-rock bands before, but I had never regarded the thing as a genre. And E Flores definitely made me see that. We spoke about...
They're both banger albums, to be honest, aren't they? But
yeah. It's three, right? Three, right? Frames, Everyone Into Position, E Flores. Did I forget one?
Don't look at me. I'm the drummer that's fired.
Yeah, that's okay. No. But Chris, I think it's for free records, right?
I think so. Yeah. To be honest, those two are the ones that I'm the most familiar with by a long way. Yeah, four. Self-preserved while the body floats up.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. That is also good album. I always like it when bands have basically a flawless discography, just like yours. But as you said, you're not yet an albums band because only two. But let's go to albums bands. I'll give you Russian circles, and you have to choose between Enter and Station.
Why you do this to us?
I would say Station.
Yeah. They're both just two great albums again, but I'm going to say Station because it is some of the first post-rock I think I heard.
Definitely Station. I mean, definitely is a strong word, but they're both fantastic.
Yeah, it's probably the way that it would also be for me. At this very moment, I would say Station, but I don't know if in 2 months' time I would still choose that record over Enter. But at the moment, I would also choose Station. Let's play that game a little more. God is an Astronaut. Epitaph versus All is Violent, All is Violent.
All is Violent.
Agreed.
I can understand that, but I don't know why, but I like Epitaph more. I don't know why. I think there is something in Epitaph sound-wise that is like, that is my go-to album when I listen to God is an Astronaut. With the next band, I think the choice is easier for all three of us. Mono. You choose between You Are There, I think that is 2006, and Hymn to the Immortal Wind, 2009.
It's him, isn't it?
I can't remember which albums. You're talking about album bands, but
yeah,
I just stick them on and I can't remember. They've all blurred into each other now.
Yeah, because they perfected that formula, haven't they? Like, it is a formulaic kind of songwriting, but the way that Taka and his bandmates are able to always put on a little bit of a different face on each record is amazing. Yeah, to me it would also be Him to be Immortal. But if you Vince cannot choose, then that is not a bad thing.
Okay.
I have two more. If you had to choose between two alternatives, and both would be unusual gig partners, would you rather play with a black metal or a death metal band? And we keep it straight. We don't say anything like black gaze or avant-garde death metal. No. The real thing.
Black metal.
Death metal.
All right.
That will be interesting when I see you play with Behemoth, because they are put into both categories. Yeah.
We'll have to do both. Yeah.
But can you, Vince? Can you say why you would choose this one, and Chris, why you would choose the other?
Well, for me, black metal, in some ways, I think is more similar to what we do, in the sense that you can really get into. I mean, sometimes when I play, I get into sort of a nice trance, and sometimes for black metal it can be really atmospheric and cinematic as well. So it really depends on perhaps the black metal. But
yeah, Chris, why would you say, or why did you say death metal? Because it's so further away from your band?
No, just because I love a lot of death metal bands. I love Gojira, Meshuggah, Nile. These kind of bands, Rivers of Nile as well. Speaking of bands that have the word Nile in it. I would enjoy it. I'd be there and I'd be like, yeah.
True.
And the last one, and that ties in with you being one of a few bands. I know 4 bands which fill the pattern of having 3 guitar players. Iron Maiden, Bad Religion, or the Japanese Masters of Envy. You have to choose one of those 3.
Are we playing with them, or am I?
Yeah, what are we doing?
Which one you like more?
Okay.
Because otherwise, being a musician who would like to make a little bit of money, I would always choose Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
No, who do you like more? Bad Religion, Iron Maiden,
Religion.
Envy.
It's Bad Religion for me. I was a teenager. It was nostalgic.
Yeah.
I would say that's the same reason Iron Maiden for me. I think I spent a lot of my youth, singing along to Iron Maiden. So,
and thankfully, it's 3 different bands, and I can say it's Envy. But that's just because Envy is one of my all-time favorites. For everybody, if you wanna listen to a very, very amazing, very, very good triple guitar, tremolo, crescendo, whatever band, 5 days, it's your time, because you can listen to Takeoffs and Landings by those 2 fine young gentlemen and 3 bandmates. Please do so. I think it's a really, really good record. And it's interesting. I hope everybody also hears this vocal melody in one of the guitar parts where the other 2 are the backing vocals. Guys, thanks for your time. It's now 7:30 in the UK. So thanks for your time in the evening. And Chris, when the police comes and knocks on the door, don't open.
It's staying closed. They'll be back. They've gone the wrong way.
They'll be back.
They took the second left. This is trying to get it out there, but.
So, guys, one of you has the chance for final last word.
Just laugh it off. Thank you, Thorsten.
Yeah, thank you very much. And say our warmest congratulations and warm hellos to all 3 of our band members. So thanks for your time, guys.
Thank you, Thorsten. Nice to meet you as well.